Are you looking to get ripped abs this year? Today's video, I'm going to map out a 12-month plan to take you from 30% body fat, or wherever you currently are, down to 10% body fat, which I would argue will get 99.9% of guys ultra shredded if you're actually 10% body fat. So let's just start with getting a couple things crystal clear. The first thing I want to say is getting lean should be a priority as you enter the year. If you're not as lean as you want to be, that should be your main focus. Be careful of chasing multiple goals at the same time. If you're someone who's like, man, I really like to pack on 20 pounds of muscle, or I'd really like to go run a few Spartan races, those are awesome goals. And we're going to talk about how to properly structure your year so you can hit all of them. But if you're over 20% body fat, if you're creeping upwards in that 25, 30, 35% range, listen, it's not just about the abs. It's about getting your health and the quality of life that you want in order. So make it a priority to get lean. That's the first thing that we got to get crystal clear. Once you're lean though, there's the whole group of possibilities that open up to you in terms of fitness goals. And honestly, in order to get from 30% to 10%, like I'm going to walk you through here now, it may take a couple of cuts throughout the year. So probably not going to do it in a straight shot. And I'm explaining to you the entire calendar that I would set up if you were a part of our program. And speaking of which, before we get into things, I just want to make sure you don't miss out on a massive opportunity. I put together a really powerful group, a community of guys who are aiming to not only be successful with their family, their finances, their whole entire life, but guys who want to look the part too. This is specifically for the busy guys out there who have to manage the family responsibilities, work, and all that. But when they take their shirt off, they want to be really confident in how they're showing up and how they look. I put together a whole community. Go click that link now. Make sure you're a part of our group. It's free to join, and I post exclusive trainings in there, even stuff better than this one, every single week. So don't miss out. Go click that link now. Okay, so let's just start with the data we need to understand in order to actually make the next 12 months successful. The first thing I'd highly recommend, and there's two tests I would suggest, but the first thing is a DEXA scan. DEXA scan is going to tell you your body fat percentage, your bone density, how much muscle you have. It's just going to give you crystal clear data to ensure that we can set your diet, set your protocols, everything up successfully, backed by real data, not doing any kind of guesswork, so that we know exactly where you currently are now and where we want to be and how long it's probably going to take to get there. A DEXA scan is super cheap. If you just Google search DEXA scan in my area, you'll find plenty of options that will help you get it done. It'll usually range anywhere from $50 to $100, and you don't have to do it every month or anything crazy. Just get it done every 3 to 6 months. The second thing I would get done, if you can, is a full panel blood work. This is just to ensure that everything under the hood, right? All our internal health is super dialed in, hormones are dialed in, everything that we need in terms of health is dialed in. If you got areas that need to be improved, this will give you clarity on that so you can start improving them. So you can take vitamins, minerals, supplementation, all the things to make sure that the body is working with you versus working against you as we go through the next 12 months. Highly recommend getting a full panel blood work done every 6 months. And if you're interested in learning more about our hormonal clinic that we've partnered with, you can go to tthormones.com. Shameless plug. Love those guys. They're amazing. It's my company, partnered with one of my trusted partners out in California, Regenerative Sports and Health Medicine. Go check out tthormones.com if you want to learn more about that. This is the stuff we get all sorted out with our clients who join our program. And if you want to learn more about that, there's a whole link below. But let's just get into the video. I know you're itching to get this 12 months underway. So let's start with building out our calendar. A couple things we want to get on the calendar as we map out the entire shred from 30% to 10% is events and vacations and things that'll probably throw you off track, or things that we want to be looking good for, right? So if you have a vacation coming up in May, for example, like I do, I want to make sure that I'm really pushing as I get closer to that goal, because two things: one, I want to look my best. Two, I know during a vacation, the last thing I want to be doing is staying in a calorie deficit, trying to be perfect with my workouts and my cardio and all that fun stuff. That's not the game plan here. The game plan here is to look good so we can go enjoy life. And when we're at home doing the normal day-to-day stuff, that's when we're on track and on point most of the time. Take out a piece of paper, write down all the important dates. When do you have, lengthy out-of-town vacations or business trips? Let's just make sure we're taking those times into account so there's no surprises. We know what's coming up. All right, so let's start with the beginning of the year, because I always say summer bodies are made in the winter. And the reason I say that is because it's probably going to take you longer to get to your goal than you think. Let's just pretend that you are 30% body fat. That's why you clicked on this video and you want to get to 10%. So we literally have to lose 20% of your body weight. Now, we want the majority of that weight to come from body fat, but there is going to be some water weight that comes off. You might lose a tiny little bit of muscle here and there, probably not. You might even gain some muscle, but all in all, we got to lose 20% of the body fat that we're carrying. That's going to be a significant amount. But overall, we actually need to lose 20% of our body weight, and we got to lose 2/3 of the body fat that we're carrying. So we got our work cut out for us, and we want to give ourselves plenty of time to do that. Now, if I was in full blown, 24/7 perfect bodybuilder style prep, I could probably lose about 1% of body fat per week. That puts me at about 20 weeks if I was following a perfect plan, meaning no slip ups, really close to 99% perfect all the time. But you and I both know that's not how things work, right? We have kids, we have life, we have work, right? So I like to personally aim for a 0.5% of body fat per week. So now what are we looking at here? Well, we're looking at about 40 weeks, give or take, of fat loss mode, but we're not going to do all that in one stretch. So let's just start with the beginning of the year. Like I said, I like to start a cut in February. Now, I like to get January straightened out with getting my habits better, getting my routines dialed in, give myself some time to get into what I call the zone, right? So what I'm aiming for in January is not to be doing a free-for-all, eating whatever I want, kind of a continuation of the holidays. What I want to do is have some non-negotiables in place for January. Number one is I want to be aware of what I'm eating. Okay, so I want to make sure I have a meal plan in place, which we'll talk about food in a second. I want to make sure I have a workout system dialed in. So I have the appointments on my calendar of when I want to be in the gym. I'll probably err on the side of less is more in January. So, in January, I might average 3 strength workouts a week. The other thing I want to do is I want to get my movement back on track in January. So we may not jump into full-blown fat loss level movement in January, but I want to have a standard. For me, it's about 8,000 steps per day in the month of January just to get myself back into the zone, because we're coming off of Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, end of year goals, like a stressful time. So fat loss can be stressful for some of you. So I don't want you to go into crazy mode right out of the gate. Hey, if you're ready though, don't let me hold you back. You can take what I'm about to tell you for the months of February to May, and you can apply it in January. Okay. But let's talk about, as we get into fat loss mode, what are we trying to do? Well, let's break it down into pillars. So the first thing I want you to understand here is this first phase is going to last from February to May. And this is like full-blown fat loss. Let's get after it. Let's lose the body fat. Let's get as lean as we can during these months. What we're aiming for here is we're trying to lose about 8 to 10% of our body fat, right? So not over just our body fat, 8 to 10% of our body weight. Okay. So we got 20% to lose, right? If we go back to the math that we talked about before, we're basically trying to knock out half of that, this first cut. Okay. Which would be awesome. So it's about a 16-week fat loss phase. We're trying to lose about 0.5 to 0.75% of our body weight per week. Now, this is stuff I learned from guys way smarter than me that I've now taken into my own system, tweaked a lot of the things that I'm going to share with you today. But these are the systems we help our clients with. Now, there's 2 ways to start getting my help. You can just jump into the free community, like I mentioned earlier. It's a link below. Click on that, join our group. I post exclusive free trainings in there every single week. It's just for guys like you and I, right? Who have families, have careers, who want to look good with our shirt off. And we just believe that fitness is the fast track to improving all parts of your life. It's the lowest hanging fruit to just better quality life. That's the first thing. If you're just like, hey, I want to skip all that, I want to get down to the nitty gritty, I need your help now. I'm ready to invest in myself, and I really want to look like a Greek god this year. Then click on the link for our first class system. That's where you can just schedule a time to have a consultation, and we'll take it from there. Now that you know how we're going to start this fat loss phase, right? The goals we're going to have, the training. This is where I think a lot of guys go wrong. They jump into this like high rep circuit CrossFit style training. Why? Because it gets their heart rate up, it gets their body temperature up, they start sweating a lot. So they think, oh my gosh, like I must be burning a ton of body fat. In reality, it's just not the case. In reality, yes, you are burning a lot of calories, but not anywhere near as much as you think. What I suggest, especially in the first 8 weeks of the 16-week plan, is we actually work on getting stronger. Okay. So we want to give our body as much of a reason as possible to hold on to as much muscle as possible. And the last thing we want to do is start blasting through muscle and losing muscle and then feeling skinny fat. For most of the guys I work with, we're doing an 8 to 12 week get stronger phase alongside of a moderate fat loss phase where we're losing body fat pretty consistently, but we're not starving ourselves, going full blown aggressive, which there may be a time and place, which we'll talk about in a second. Give you some example macros here. Okay. So if you know your total calories, I'd say get about 30 to 40% protein, 30% carbs, 25% fat. That's kind of where I suggest your macros lie. Now, inside of our system, I'll teach you how to set all this up so you don't have to track every calorie. You can eat anywhere. It's really simple. We call it the meal rotation system, where you just have go-to meals that are either at your house, at your job, or at restaurants that you just eat consistently, that taste really good, that you enjoy. And then occasionally you have, meals at home like burgers, pizza, and stuff that's calorie controlled as well, but that you might make that you got to know the calories for. And it's real simple. All right. So we want to help you buy back your time. The big thing here though is the meals we set up need to help you hit your calories and your protein goal. The carbs and fats will kind of work themselves out based off your preference, based off what you feel best with and what you respond best to. All right. Now, why do we have a fat loss phase to start the year? Well, you want to look good for the warm months, so it doesn't make sense to wait till May to start losing fat. In fact, I tell guys all the time, the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be. So you might as well just start now. If you've been waiting for a significant amount of time, don't think it's too late. It's not, but just don't wait another day. Like, what's the point, right? You already have waited long enough. You've dug yourself into a deep enough hole. No need to keep digging. Start working yourself out. Okay. So that's the first fat loss phase. If we knock that goal out, we set ourselves up for a really successful next phase, which we're going to talk about now, which I'm going to call the slow gain and maintain performance phase. Okay. Now, a couple things here. If you're into more than just working out a couple times a week and walking, getting your steps in and stuff, this could be an opportunity for you to jump into something really challenging, like running a 10K, doing a Spartan race, doing a High Rocks race, right? I've made videos about these kind of races that are fun to include in your fitness plan as you get in better shape. But you may just go, you know what? The summertime is a kind of a time for me and my family to go on vacations, relax a little bit, enjoy my body, just maintain the work that I've put in the spring and the winter, right? The other goal that could be really applicable here is to add some muscle. Okay. Now, this is not an excuse to add back body fat. What we're going to do here is it's about a 10-week phase. We're going to go from June to about mid-August. All right. This is where performance could be the goal, right? Where we go after a performance goal. We're eating more to support that goal. And we're not gaining body fat, but we're fueling our body while getting stronger either from a cardiovascular standpoint or from a muscle standpoint. Now, this could be where we mix in some different training styles just to mix it up a little bit, give you some fun, more variety. I also would highly suggest including and continuing to include some cardio-based workouts, right? We want to keep our heart strong, keep our cardiovascular system super, super dialed in. Now with food, we're going to increase calories here. We want to keep your metabolism really healthy. So we don't want to be in low calorie mode forever. In fact, we want to reverse out of that. We want to do some metabolic repair so that you're eating more, not gaining weight back, maybe a few pounds of water weight, but all in all, you're increasing your metabolic capacity, your body's ability to handle more food without gaining fat. We do this systematically. This will also give us a chance to enjoy some of the summer fun, right? The vacations I mentioned, the barbecues, just being out and about, right? Just a little bit more social of a time. So you may have more opportunities to eat more, have a couple drinks, that kind of stuff. So this is where we're definitely going to have a meal rotation system with a little more relaxed tracking. If we do this right, we're not going to gain a lot of weight. Okay, maybe a few pounds on the scale, but not a lot of body fat, that's for sure. You're going to notice you're more filled out, you're feeling stronger. And once again, this goes from June to August, all right? And then we're going to switch back into a cut. Remember, I told you getting to 10% body fat is going to take multiple cuts. It's probably not going to all happen in one shot. So now we're into the fall. All right, we're going back to school, if you will, right? This is a perfect time. I see a lot of guys, they join our program early part of the year. Summertime, they're chilling, they're doing a couple runs and some fun stuff. They're not really pushing that hard because it's summer. But then kids go back to school and it's like, all right, game on again, right? We got to get back to the work. So we're going to go from September to November, and we're going to do another hardcore fat loss phase. Now, this is where we're going to get aggressive. Okay. So you're coming off the summer. You maybe got a little lax, not really, right? You still living the life. You're doing the daily 3Ms, okay, movement, muscle, meals. But now you're like, all right, kids are back in school. Weather's still nice. It's not too hot, not too cold. I'm going to push for 10 weeks. Okay. 10 weeks, aggressive fat loss. Now, the goal here is to get to your target body fat percentage. Like, we're going to push hard. I don't like doing aggressive fat loss for longer than a couple months. It just doesn't make sense. So we're going to go for about 2.5 at the most months here. May start mid-August and go to the end of October. Some of you might start early September, go to the end of October. But once we get to Halloween, we are done. Okay. So we're going to push. Now, in terms of training, in terms of diet, this is going to be very dependent on you as an individual. What I will say is calories need to come down. We're probably looking at trying to create a daily deficit of around 750 to 1,000 calories. And I know that's aggressive. Okay. So it's going to be less food than what you probably had in your first cut phase earlier in the year. So you have to be mentally prepared for this, right? We're still gonna eat foods you love. We're still gonna have a really fun lifestyle. You're not gonna have to track every little thing. You're not gonna be wasting hours in the gym. In fact, this could be a phase where we only train 3 days a week. And then the other days we're getting work done, right? We're prepping for year-end goals, that kind of stuff. I do not like to do an aggressive cut for longer than that. Now, if you're already lean, okay, I will say this. If you're somebody who's like going into the fall and you're like, dude, I'm like 4 pounds away from my goal, you may only do this phase for a month. It's just to trim off whatever summer body fat you gained, and that's totally fine. We can help you inside of our program, which, by the way, if you haven't already, go click the link to join our free community, the True Transformation community for high-performing family men who want to look good with their shirt off, feel like their physique matches the success they've had in other parts of their life. I'm passionate about making fitness a permanent part of your life, and I want to share with you exclusive trainings that you'll only get in that group. We expand on all the stuff we talk about here, so check that out. We got to finish the year, right? Because I don't want to leave you hanging. Hopefully you got to your fat loss goal, right? I think if you do things right, you absolutely can do it. Some diligence and determination, but you still got November and December, okay? So this is where, and this may be longer than an 8-week phase. We may actually go out sometimes 12, 14 weeks if you've got as lean as you wanted to be. This is where we're like literally going to strengthen our physique and our athletic ability too, if that's your thing. Number one goal here is start adding muscle and strength. We're going to eat more again. We're going to repair the metabolism, and we're trying to gain a little bit more size and strength faster now, right? So we're not maintaining, we're actually gaining. So the summertime was maintenance, right? So a lot of you might be wondering like, well, didn't we do the same thing in the summer? No, we maintain in the summer. Now we're actually okay with the scale going up a little bit. Because like I told you, man, like you cannot be in fat loss mode all the time. Now, here's the kicker. If you're someone who just absolutely loves the performance stuff, which I know a lot of our clients fall in love with that, once they get in better shape, they're like, oh, I want to go run. Like, I want to do stuff with my body. That's awesome. This will be a time to improve your athletic ability. So whether that's running better, doing more cross training, rowing, there's all sorts of stuff you can do. High rocks training. We're going to need more food for this. Okay. So we're actually trying to go into like a 10% surplus here. Okay. So let's just say in the summer, we're going to use round numbers. So take this with a grain of salt, but we're in the summer, we're eating 2,500 calories a day, roughly. You know, if we're following the meals, we're pretty close to 2,500 calories, right? Wintertime, and that's maintaining. Okay, so wintertime, we may bump to 2,750 and then eventually even 3,000 calories, knowing that we're going to gain some size, and that's okay. We're not going to gain very much body fat, maybe a little bit, but that'll come off again when we repeat the cut that we do every single spring, right? So now all we're trying to do is maintain a lower body fat percentage on average year round, right? So if before you were at like 30% body fat and you hated the way you looked and you're like, man, this just sucks, dude. Like I just hate looking in the mirror, not happy with the way I look in clothes. Like everything is just tough. Now, instead of having to maintain 10% year round, which can be really challenging, right? For a lot of guys, it's really, really tough. Now you're like, okay, I'm just going to maintain 15% year round, right? That's really lean still, by the way. But you're like, hey, my rule is I'm under 20% year round because I know with an 8-week cut, I can get down to the mid-teens, really easily with fat loss. Great. But I'm never going back to the higher body fat percentages. Okay. That's the whole mindset here is now this is your lifestyle and you have a calendar, right? That allows you to maintain really organized focus throughout the year. Now, keep in mind, guys, this is just a framework. This is, not meant to cover all the things that you might want to accomplish. This is how we start with our clients and ultimately really get you to where you need to be is having accountability, having support, being surrounded by people who are going through the same stuff that you are on a daily basis, who also have big fitness goals that they want to accomplish. So your next step is a couple things. One, don't forget to join our community. It's free. Click the links below. I'm going to put a video here on the screen with a daily plan for you to get shredded abs this year, right? So we just talked about the year. Now I want you to watch the video on a daily system and checklist to get abs this year. I think it'll really help you. Go check that one out next. And I appreciate you watching. Talk to you on the next one. Life moves fast. Make it count. Peace.